All right, Chrysten Abraham is, of course, with the Libertarians in Victoria. She joins us now in Melbourne, and the wonderful man who, of course, you know, just is all that he is.
Wonderful but misguided.
Yeah. A little...
I'll come good eventually.
Right track, wrong track. We'll get to that in a moment or two's time, is none other than Joe Hildebrand. So, some huge stories in and around hate laws.
Yep.
New South Wales is going to introduce ones that have penalties of serious time in jail or very significant fines. Victoria is going to put things in place where previously political debate was not going to be included in those laws. That will now not be the case. So I want to talk about these because they're going to probably end up as the law of the land. Chrysten, I'm going to start with you because Victoria seems to be the one that is going to pounce on, surprise, surprise, the ones that are going to limit speech. What's your sense of these things? My argument around all of this stuff is that it's dangerous to play with it, but they're going to.
It's definitely dangerous to play with it, Paul. It's dangerous to have an issue come up and try and legislate every single issue when we should be looking at the root cause, and the root cause is a lack of leadership in Victoria and in Australia at the moment to kind of stamp out bad behaviour that's going on. You can't legislate against hateful speech because it will still exist. It will just go behind closed doors. And in terms of governments can't even ban contraband that is in jails. Governments can't keep contraband in jails out of it. How could they possibly think that they'll take away hateful speech by legislating it? Now, about 12 months ago, I got asked a question on your show, Paul, what I thought of a Labor candidate at the time saying the Voice result was the worst of white privilege that she had ever seen. And my response was, well, if she had such a problem with white privilege, she's more than welcome to vote for me. Now, would all of that conversation or all of that debate be banned under these current laws? Great. It's outrageous to think that this is where Victoria is going, into a Orwellian thought police situation.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, Joe, again, I understand the issue. I'm looking forward to the summit that's coming up in a couple of days' time, right? I have serious concerns about what is introduced with One Hope that ends up becoming completely weaponisable by things that are completely unintended, and no government will ever have the balls to change, wind back, or put sunset provisions into this.
18C all over again. So look, the last thing you want is for this to become a Trojan horse for a sort of quasi-blasphemy law, for example, or a curtailing of political debate. Quick disclaimer, my wife works for Equality Australia, which is one of the groups that is pushing for LGBTQ and all the rest.
So she's all in.
Included with that. I probably have a slightly different view, but I think the purpose of these laws and the laws in New South Wales is very specifically to capture what is happening to Jewish people in the community, how they are being targeted, and making sure that police, and we know that police have really, really struggled to find existing grounds, existing laws with which to prosecute people who are doing these things. Now, yes, you can prosecute them for vandalism. Yes, you can prosecute them for property damage. But burning someone's car because they're a filthy Jew and kill Israel and kill the Jews or whatever is a bit different from just your standard, garden variety act of vandalism. So what they're trying to do is to make sure that people who do these things can be prosecuted. The last thing you would want, and I think this is why they have not expanded it to other groups, other cohorts. The last thing you want is for people to be able to say, well, you made someone hate me, you're nicked, you're going to jail. So it will be very much how these laws are enforced, and I would expect them to be enforced in a pretty narrow way.
Well, but the problem is another police commissioner, another police minister, another attorney general, another government. God forbid the Greens one day end up forming a government somewhere, right? That's why, to me, I'd love to see much more in Australia when we do things like this, and yes, even some of the counter-terrorism laws, that we do what they do in America, which is have sunset provisions, which means the law will last for 2 years, and then basically you have to show that it works to argue to re-implement it. That's when you're doing these things. But
the Homeland Security stuff.
Correct. That's where I'm, way more at the Libertarian end of things, which I know pleases Chrysten and the people in her life. But let's talk here about, again, a scenario where these laws, I think they are not debated as publicly as they should be, and the detail of what is in and out and all of that isn't given really much coverage, because it's not like anyone's going to sit there on the 6 p.m. news and actually read the bill out loud from beginning to end. We've got to hope that there are people in the upper house, like David Limbrick in Victoria, Chrysten, that are going to be able to say, hey, well, paragraph 2 on page 3 is pretty weird. But that's a lot of pressure on just a couple of individuals when, if the drumbeat is must pass, and if you somehow oppose, then you're pro-hate, it's going to be very difficult to have a nuanced discussion here.
Yeah, so David is definitely championing this and also showing how this will probably be used against the Greens more so than anyone, and that the Greens should be against this legislation. Also, David is appealing to anyone that he can to vote against this legislation. In terms of what Labor's doing at the moment, they are also pushing the Libs to vote for this because, you know, most of it is good, even though some of it is very poorly written. But I always kind of think back to the hypocrisy of Labor when they voted down the bill against the Frankston serial killer getting out of jail just because the Liberals put it up, even though the bill was good and the bill was solid. So the hypocrisy there to label the Liberal Party or anyone else being, you know, for hate speech by them not voting for a poorly formed bill is, yeah, I guess it's on brand for Labor, to be honest.